What's up, sober family? Welcome back. This is another episode of Recovery Talk, brought to you by Pro Recovery Power. I'm your host. I apologize again, guys. I sent out a video on my story saying that I wasn't going live at noon. I usually go live at noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but I wasn't able to because the person that was going to go live with me ended up working. So it was like a last minute thing. So I apologize for that, guys. And hey, Kim, how you guys doing? Thanks for joining. Today, though, I have Jennifer Wylde on. She has a credible story. Like, you guys don't want to miss this one. It's going to be great. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit more, again, about Pro Recovery Power. Because been some miscommunication. People don't know exactly, like, what do you guys do? Who are you guys? What are you guys? Yes, we have recovery clothing line. We go live with other alcoholics and addicts, telling their story, inspiring hope. We got a bunch of different things. But what we are right now doing in the process of, me and my wife, is turning Pro Recovery Power into a non-profit organization to reach people on a massive level. Being our objective is to become nonprofit, and that'll allow us to do that. Take the message of recovery to the streets, treatment centers, schools, churches, and all around the world through social media. That's what's going on with us. That's what we are. Just to let you guys know. But like I said, I just mentioned Jennifer Wylde is here. She has an unbelievable story to tell. You guys want to fasten your seatbelt for this one. But I see her requested me to join, so let me get her in there, and we can get this party started. Hey, there you are.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh, it's good. I feel a little weird because I'm just doing it from my bed. I'm just being real cash.
That's cool. Like, I've gone live with people that they're laying in their bed, so it's all good.
My favorite place to be, bed.
Yeah. And I didn't have a chance to respond. I got your video you just sent me. I didn't have a chance to respond though, but no, when you're live with me, you're live too. You are live. This is on your feed as well.
Oh, it is? Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All my peeps. Hey. Listen, I got to tell you, with total ham. So like we're gonna be hamming it up. Yeah. All right. He's gonna be like, is this chick even really sober? My God.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier, and I've listened to your podcast. I listened to not the whole thing of when you went live. I mean, when you went on the Other Side of Hell podcast.
Oh,
you did theirs kind of recently, and and yeah, you got that. You were a radio host, right? Because you sound like it when your podcast starts. It's like, dang, yeah, she got the voice for this and everything. You know?
I was a rock jock. I was a rock and roll girl from day one, out of the box. Number one, first thing. Some families, they sit around the dinner table and they talk about politics or religion. We were talking about rock and roll.
Yeah. All right, cool. Hey, so before we get started, I wanted to ask you a few questions. The first one is, how long have you been sober?
I've been sober 2.5 years.
All right.
Yeah.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city. Yeah.
And is that where you live now?
No, I'm in. No, oh gosh. I got out as soon as I realized I could. No, I'm kidding. I love Cleveland. I love my hometown, and you'll hear when I tell my story what that town was to me, and I love it. But I'm in the lovely sunny South Florida. I'm in Jupiter, Florida right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Must be hot there right now, huh?
It's really hot. It is like it's like our winter. It is. I mean, summer is miserable, but I love the heat. When you grow up with like 20 feet of snow, it can never be hot enough for me. So yeah.
Okay, and then the last question is, what was your choice in drink and or drug?
A garbage can, baby, just give it to me. I mean, I started as a drunk. Actually, my first drug of choice were boys in kindergarten. I mean, I started as a drunk, and then it'll all be my story. But at the end, I liked crack a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, crackhead.
Yeah, I can relate.
Okay, good. Oh, I love me a good crackhead. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, before we get started and you tell your story, I just want to talk real quick about Pro Recovery Power. If you guys could, you guys that are viewing this, go to our website, prorecoverypower.com. The link is in this bio, my bio too. On the bottom right-hand corner, there's a survey there that'll help move the vision forward. Like I just mentioned earlier, that we're turning this into a nonprofit organization. So that's greatly appreciated, guys. Also on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I host a recovery meeting. It's basically like a 12-step meeting. It's a non-denominational, but it's all fellowships, all support groups is all welcome to join. It's usually really geared toward drugs and alcohol. But hey, if you got an eating disorder, sex addiction, whatever, gambling, you're welcome to come as well. So without further ado, I've been waiting for this for a while, Jen. Now I'll give you the floor to tell your story.
All right, here I am. My name is Jennifer Wylde. That is a stage name. I will tell you that my real last name ends in a berg. I grew up with a lot of bergs, wits. If it ended in something like that, basically what I'm trying to say is very, very upper middle class Jewish area. Like where I grew up, I didn't realize that I was like a minority. I didn't. I thought that everybody was Jewish, and then I thought like, Christmas was like only a few people celebrated Christmas. I didn't know. I thought everybody was Jewish because that's where I grew up. So, early childhood, I mean, it seemed great. It seemed okay. But like, even my most beginning memories as a child, like I didn't feel right. Like I remember being in kindergarten and just being like, I don't like this shit. My friends, like, they have really neat handwriting and they're in school and they're digging it. They're digging the books in school. And like I said, I liked the boys, but I hated school, like from day one. I just was all over the place. I wasn't hearing what was going on. I was hearing what was going on in the background. I was hearing what was going on, like, in the hallways. And I mean, I'm even talking like as early as kindergarten. And I just always like had this hole in my stomach, even as I'm talking a little girl. When I say my first addiction were boys, it's funny, but I mean, it really is true. Like, I mean, I just remember looking at the boys and the boys and just wanted a social life. And on my street, there were 2 girls that lived on my street and there were 3 of us. And I know where these girls are today. And it turns out that these girls are actually like brilliant. They're like, their IQs are like genius. And these were like my best friends. So of course I'm going to feel like a stupid idiot because I'm just normal. And these chicks are like friggin', it turns out, absolute geniuses. Okay. So it was kind of traumatic for me because I knew that I wasn't to their level in school, and they were the ones that I was always hanging out with. But it turns out that was just like a fluke that my best friends were a friggin' genius level. So that made me have a very low self-esteem, and my whole life my mantra was I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I had an overbearing mother that gave me everything. My dad was a workaholic. He was always working. Also an alcoholic. But he wasn't the kind of alcoholic that would come in and be like, where are the kids? And start throwing things, He traveled a lot and he was gone a lot. And it was always my mother who was like psychotic. She had every single alcoholic drug addict characteristic you can imagine, but she didn't use, she used us. I mean, she was definitely a shopaholic, hence my addiction too. Right now, still in that one. But like, the family was crazy. But yet again, another one of my cross the street neighbors, like our street was like, I mean, it was called Duffield Road, but it should have been called Devil Road because it was so crazy. It was so dysfunctional. My cross the street neighbors were so nuts that the police were there all the time. The father was, let's say, a good fella, if you know what I mean. And the cops were always there. There was physical abuse. So I thought my family was normal because next to them, our family's normal. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have the cops every day. We just have the cops like once every few months. And my brother was completely off the wall. I was not disciplined at all. I hated school. So you have an undisciplined girl that does not like school and thinking that she's stupid. And I always thought I was ugly. So that's how I grew up as a young girl. So, like in eighth grade, I went to the dentist and I had a toothache, and he put me under. I call it the hippie crack. What is it? Nitrous. He gave me the nitrous.
Uh,
I remember getting the nitrous, and I was like, "Holy shit, man! I love this nitrous. What is this? Oh my god! If this is anything what alcohol is like, then I want to get drunk. I want this. I like this feeling, and I knew I was in trouble. And I remember my mother used to say, "Now you have to be careful, Jennifer, because you have you have a predisposition to alcoholism." Like, she basically was manifesting my alcoholism, because my dad was an alcoholic, and she told me that I had to be careful. And I guess she did see the addictive personalities, the personality in me, and she saw that I was depressed. Like, I remember being in seventh grade. I mean, I'm going into like not even the cool part right here, like not the glamorous part, but like stupid things. I remember being in seventh grade and sitting there in history class and saying to this girl, I remember the girl, I'm not gonna say her name. I was like, "Are you like miserable all the time? Do you like hate this shit?" And she was like, "No, what are you talking about?" I was like, "Really?" Like, I couldn't believe that people weren't friggin' unhappy. And I was given everything. I had clothes. We went on family vacations, I mean, like, I really had no reason to be miserable. But so back to the dentist, that feeling, ease and comfort. First time I ever had any kind of feeling of change, altering my state of mind. I thought it was ugly. There was a girl that I thought was so pretty in high school. She was older, and I just like always I patterned myself. I wanted to look like her. I started dressing like her, started doing my hair like her, and hence, like, it was summer, and then I went into ninth grade, and I manifested boobs. Like, all of a sudden, I had like these awesome boobs. Well, those aren't mine; those I paid for. But sorry, but yeah, no, I don't think I manifested them. I think that nature just took its course. But I started getting boobs. I started getting cuter, and hanging out with my girlfriends. Just being a typical teenager, and hanging out with my friend in ninth grade, and she was a year older, and she was like beautiful, and she hands me a drink, Jack Daniels, and I take a hit. It was at her house, and I got so friggin' drunk. I didn't stop drinking the Jack Daniels, and I still have a scar on my neck. I don't know if you can see it from that night. I'm not sure how it happened, but it had to do with like a football player or something. And I got so drunk, and this girl that hated me for no reason, that used to trip me in the hall. I remember, like, we ended up hugging, and we were like best friends. So alcohol was my best friend. I'm doing this every weekend now, and I did every weekend from ninth grade. And because I started developing and I looked a lot older than I was, I started going to bars. And by 10th grade, I was going to downtown Cleveland in bars, hanging out. Now, we had this hotel that was within bicycle riding distance. And when I was a child, when I was a little girl, we used to ride our bicycle to this hotel and play, like, not the video games we have today. We didn't even have Pac-Man, guys. Okay, we were playing like Space Invaders and shit. And we go to the arcade, and we noticed tour buses, and then we'd be like, "Oh my god, friggin', there's Def Leppard, there's Joe Elliott," and we figured out that when the bands were in town, that's the hotel they would stay at. And rock and roll household, rock and roll family. So starting at like probably fifth or sixth grade, we started riding our bicycles to that hotel and started hanging out there, just waiting for the bands to come. And that's where I started my little band thing. And then when I started going to bars, then we would go to the bar at the hotel and hang out at the bar, and then we'd meet the roadies, and then we'd end up on the bus, and then we'd really get in trouble. And so the maitre d' at the bar, very, very cute boy. Of course, I fell madly in love with, and he has a little, he has this aversion. He likes cocaine a lot. So I try cocaine, and I started liking cocaine a lot in 11th grade. I started liking it a lot. So I started doing a lot of coke. So basically, you have an alcoholic drug addict at age 17.
Mm-hmm.
And you hated school, cut class, upper middle class, Jewish girl. And all my friends are going to college at graduation, and I'm going to rehab. Ivy League colleges, Ivy League rehab. I knew I had a problem, and I actually knew myself. Like, my mother was in such denial when she was so, God bless her, keep up with the Joneses, that the high school went to her and said, your daughter needs to go to treatment. And the only way that we can let her back in the school is if you sign your name and get a signature from a psychiatrist, because it was public school. But, we can't have her back because she's coming to school all fucked up and everything. And my mother got that signature because what will the neighbors think of my daughter's in treatment? Meanwhile, I'm a friggin' alcoholic drug addict. And she it's just such denial, such denial, not her baby. And then let's go to Nordstrom and go shopping. Let's not take a look at this. So I go to rehab. I send myself to rehab. I tell them, listen, you guys, I gotta go. And then they're about it. They get it. So I go to Minneapolis, and I go to this like friggin' treatment center, and I stay sober for a short time. And then it's summertime, and I decide I can't go back to Cleveland because too many ties there. So I'm going to stay in Minneapolis, and I need to get a job. So I got a job, and I didn't really have much experience doing anything, but I knew a lot about rock and roll, and I knew a lot about music, and I knew a lot about tour buses. And it turns out that my older brother happened to have worked at a radio station in Cleveland. So I called him. I'm like, David, I want to work at a radio station. And he was just like a little intern boy. And he's like, well, I think we have a sister station in Minneapolis. I'll call over there. So he called there, and hence I got a promotion job in Minneapolis. And so that was my first little thing in radio, hanging banners, going out, driving a bus in the summer, like a van that says, the call letters on it, and going around town to the lakes, handing out bumper stickers, being a bimbo, partying, drinking my ass off. Obviously I didn't stay sober. And then of course I meet, the biggest cocaine dealer in Minneapolis in the process, and just, blah, blah, blah. So it turns out I ended up getting on the air. I fell into it by accident. I just like started going on the radio a little bit with one of the DJs. They saw that I was a natural. They suggested I go to a 9-month broadcasting school. My dad's like, go do what I told you. Go to cosmetology school. And it was so funny. It's like, oh, Dad, you have so much faith in me. Like, most dads are like, go to college. My dad's like, just go do hair, honey. That's all you can do. I'm like, no, but Dad, they're telling me I could be on the radio. I could be a radio star. He's like, do the hair. So, but anyway, I did convince him, and I did. I went to this radio school, and I ended up getting a job in Duluth, Minnesota, not Minneapolis. They had to send me to a small market. I had to drive 3 hours uphill in the snow, just to do this weekend overnight shift. And I had to sleep in the studio. No, my mom put me up in a hotel anyway. But I actually I had this like natural thing, like the mic opened up, and this like drug addict that got all F's in school, that was never good at anything, just was only good at like hanging out and getting drunk and getting in trouble. I had a couple DUIs in there, by the way, probably like 4 by then. And I'm like, maybe at this point, 21, just rocked the radio. I just had this thing. So I wanted to go back home to Cleveland. I wanted to go back to my hometown. And there happened to have been a legendary station there called WMMS, The Buzzard. It is like, what kind of analogy can I make for it? It's like what Heinz is to ketchup.
Oh, okay.
Or Hershey's is to chocolate. Or what Led Zeppelin is to rock and roll. Or... it's a legendary rock and roll station. And I wanted to work there. Oh, so of course I wanted to work there. But, I had like maybe 4 months experience on a station in Duluth, Minnesota. and I sent a tape to the program director there, and I didn't hear anything back. So I sent a tape to a small market in Canton, Ohio. My tape was at the bottom of a shoebox. Somebody found my tape at the bottom of a shoebox. It turns out that the consultant of that station ran WMMS, heard the tape at the bottom of the shoebox, and was like, "Who is this?" God strike me dead. His name is John Gorman, and you could he's on Facebook. You could ask him this question. He hired me to work at WMMS. I was in friggin' jail for a DUI. I was in jail. And I was going to work at MMS, biggest rock station in the country, one of the biggest, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city in the 90s. I mean, this is when like all the bands like Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, all those bands were breaking, you know? And I'm working at this station. It was so surreal. It was the most surreal time in your life. And I was partying my ass off. And I still was getting in trouble, and I didn't feel good. I didn't. I mean, on the outside, everything was amazing. Okay. I was ruling this town. I mean, I don't even know how to explain this magical time, really. You know, I mean, every Friday night I'd go to a club, and somebody famous would show up. Some kind of rock star would show up. You know, everybody kissing my ass. Everybody, it was fun, you know? But still, I was sick. I was very sick, you know, and I still felt like I did when I was that little girl that I talked about. You know, I still felt like that little sad girl. Even though all that glamour and glory, I still felt sick. And there were a lot of nights that, you know, I would go home and I'd do the coke, and I'd have to work the next day, and I didn't know how I was going to get to work, and it was really hard. It was still, I wouldn't say it was manageable. I mean, I still qualified for AA, and I had gone to AA meetings a couple times, many times, obviously, because I'd been in treatment at this time. I don't know, in and out a couple times. Fast forward, the radio station started seeing that I had a problem, as did I. They knew. And I mean, it was cute to be into drugs back then, you know, and to get drunk. They wanted the night jock to be a drunk. It was okay. But like, when the radio station's telling you that it's time to stop partying, that it's too much, you know there's a problem. They want your night jock to stop. They're like, then you know it's wrong. So they didn't really know much about addiction, and they meant well, but they're like, I think maybe you should go to like a spa or something. Maybe we should send you to a spa, you know? And just because of my past experience, I knew, I was like, no, you guys, I need to go to treatment. You know, I need to go back to treatment. I knew I did. So they said, okay, your job will be here waiting when you come back. You know, we'll save your position for you. And I came down. Where did they send you? Me? Where did they send me for treatment? Cocaine capital of the world, South Florida, in the 90s. Woohoo! So I come down here. Didn't stay sober at all. Got another job in radio, and back and forth, sober, not sober. Get sober, go to a meeting, see a guy that has maybe 2 days sober. I'm in the druggy buggy. I'm in rehab. I want him. I end up marrying him, having a kid with him. Had a big radio job in Miami, a nice gig. Not like Cleveland. It wasn't like you know, it wasn't like the Cleveland thing, but you know, it's still, I made a nice deal in Florida. I had a couple really nice gigs in South Florida in radio. Worked at a really big rock station. Did pretty well. During my marriage, there were a lot of secrets. I don't remember exactly how or when, because we were sober together for a while when my son was very young. When I was pregnant, I was sober, and we did have a little bit of a sober life. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but I drank, I used, and then the next thing you know, like, I'm using behind his back, and my father dies, and my mother moves down here. When my mother moved down here, she gets an apartment right by my house. So I have somewhere to go all the time when I have an excuse. Fuck you, I'm going to stay at mom's.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I'm not going to mom's. Really, I'm going to get some shit, and I'm not coming home. And it got dark, and it got ugly, and it got bad. And this is on my feed too, and sometimes in my pocket, I don't know. Just, I don't have to tell you what happened on and off for years. What happens to crackheads?
Mm-hmm.
Where you go, what you do, and what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I put my mother through hell. Basically, I would stay at her house, and put her through hell, put my ex-husband through hell. Then he started using, everybody started using, total shit show. I got my mother's car stolen. People would jump in her car. They'd throw me out of the car. My car, I probably had 5 cars stolen. A very big one was, I'm out of work, and right before I'm supposed to get this big job at this big family station, it was Christmas Eve, actually, or the night before Christmas Eve, I get arrested for possession of cocaine with my mugshot, like, I mean, this mugshot, and it was everywhere. It got all over the media. I mean, oh my God, what a mugshot. Woo! Let me tell you. So plastered everywhere. Hence, I didn't get that radio job. So you'd think that I would stay sober after that. I didn't. That didn't keep me sober. Kept using. Finally, what did it for me was I was sober for a while, and I'm going to be talking about this on my podcast. California sober, fuck you, okay? You know that California sober thing that they talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really funny. That's really dangerous. They sent me to California for treatment, and all these people in the halfway house, they're California sober, and they give me kratom. So I started taking kratom. Then I realized it was like heroin. Then I come home to Florida. I come home to Florida, and I'm sober, and it's like right around the holidays, and I would see the kratom in the vape store, and I'm like, oh, I can take the kratom. I can take it. It's California sober. I can go to meetings. I can go to. I take kratom. Next thing you know, I mean, full blown relapse using, and came home and couldn't go to sleep, wanted to come down, took some shit to come down, and I came down right on the floor with no pulse and was resuscitated, and I was in the ambulance, and I was dead. So I overdosed, and so many people overdose, and that's not their bottom, and they still go out and use. I mean, I've had so many bad things happen to me. It's not even funny, like where the drugs have taken me. I truly believe that when I overdosed, and this is where you guys are all going to think I'm a friggin' wackadoo, but I think that when I died, because I tried to get sober so many times, and I will talk about what I do now and everything, but I went to meetings before, and I did, I got a sponsor, the steps and everything, and treatments and treatment, and I still went out and used. I think that when I died, that old soul, that tainted soul that I talked about from kindergarten, when I died, it just came out. And my mother died in the process, by the way. One of my treatments, I was 30 days sober, and she got so friggin', she died. She dropped dead. So I believe that when I died, my soul left me, and I was replaced with a content heart. Because when I came back, I lost the desire, and it can't be because I overdosed. Otherwise, that would be the cure to cure addiction. Just overdose and don't die, and then there will be no more addiction.
Right.
That wasn't it. So that was the experience 2.5 years ago, and I haven't used since. I've been sober ever since.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's crazy story.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I could get into like, who I slept with, what rock stars I slept with, interviewing all the bands and everything. If you want to know that, then just, email me, and I'll show you the pictures. You can go on my Instagram page and everything. And
yeah, I've seen some of them. I've seen them. I forgot who it was. It was just the other day.
Oh,
Um,
I have another Instagram page that has more about my rock and roll days. This one's more about
oh,
recovery, but you probably saw Anthony Kiedis because I do the sober ones.
yeah.
Me and Anthony, I interviewed
Uh-huh.
him in a shower back at the WMMS days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Funniest story about that show. I got the night off to go to that show. John Gorman gives me the night off. He goes, "You get the interview," because the competitor wanted to interview Anthony Kiedis, and it was like fair game. Whoever can get him backstage, that's who gets the interview. It's a hard interview to get. I go backstage, I get him. We're in a shower. I'm interviewing him, and back then they had DAT players. You know,
Oh, yeah.
those little things. There, it's like a recorder.
Yeah.
One of the best interviews of my life. I got something called a drop. That's when you'd be like, "Hi, this is Anthony Kiedis, and you're listening to Jennifer Wylde on WMMS," and that's like the best thing you can get. Friggin' best interview. I was so excited. Went back to the station to give it to the production director, and he's like, "Jennifer, there's nothing on here."
Oh, dear. Oh.
I was fucking hammered, man. I didn't press play.
Oh,
I got the
bummer.
picture, though. I got the picture.
Yeah, yeah,
You saw
yeah.
the picture. I got the picture. So anyway, so a little bit. You want me to talk a little bit about recovery
Yeah.
part?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. You have a few minutes to talk about that. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll talk you out. Okay, so after that happened, I went back to AA and I raised my hand, and like I said, there was just something different, and I went to meetings. I surrendered. I
Hmm.
started reading the big book. I started working the steps. Um, I have to be honest with you. I did that, but in conjunction, I'm really into like crystals. I'm really into singing bowls and
Hmm.
Reiki. And every time I get sober, I'm into that stuff. And prior to this round, I've done like only the Reiki and only the crystals and only the singing bowls to find my spirituality with
Hmm.
no AA. This time around, the difference is I do a lot of meditation. COVID was great for me.
Hmm.
During COVID, while everyone was getting fat and drunk, I was in my garage working out, getting in the best shape of my life. Whatever, you guys can't see me right now, but I'm like in really good shape. I am. I'm like 51, man, and I'm like good shape. And I told my story. You guys know I have a low self-esteem. I'm in good shape. Um, Meditating twice a day, getting really into meditation, just reading self-help and doing the Zoom meetings because we couldn't go to meetings, reading the big book, all the stuff, and praying to God and just having faith.
Yeah. I do have a question to ask you. Because when you're in and out of treatment, sober, spurts, this and that, you got the sponsor, you did the steps and everything, it didn't really take, and then you died and you come back to life. What do you think, what exactly, like, why didn't it stick the first time around? Was it because you never really had that spiritual experience? Is that what it
I
is?
think I just still, you know what? I think that it's this simple. I think it's this simple. I think I still wanted to get high.
Ah, so, okay. Yeah.
I don't think I was ready, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanted to get high. I don't want to get high anymore.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, do I think about it? I work at a treatment center and it's in a bad area. And
Mhm.
sometimes I have to drive by some seedy gas stations and I'm like, oh, because I'm attracted to two things. I love, like, it's so weird. I love Saks Fifth Avenue and then I love the dirty, grimy gas stations. It's like, I go both ways. It's so weird. you know, but, I don't get the compulsions. Like, I don't like want to get like, I, I want to get when I wanted to get high, I would get high no matter what. Like, I just,
Hmm.
that feeling when you want to get high and it's in your stomach and there's nothing you can do about it. Like,
Yeah.
I I,
Hmm.
I was like, I wouldn't call my sponsor because I didn't want to call my sponsor because I
Yeah.
wanted to get high.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh.
I don't get that feeling anymore, and I don't believe that. I think I have enough time behind me now. I have the tools now that if I do get that feeling, because I'm not saying I'll never get that feeling again.
Hmm.
However, if I do get that feeling now, I do know how to center myself and meditate, and I have the tools now to get myself out of it so I don't impulsively go make the wrong decision.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, cocaine was my drug of choice too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, like once I'm like, well, for me, I was about like maybe like 19, 20 when you know, prior to crossing over into the crossing that line, I had a, you know, substance use disorder problem. Once I crossed that line into full-blown drug addict and alcoholic, you know, it was right around that age, 18, 19, and like thinking about it when I got sober, thinking back, I think, wow, yeah, it was about that age because I noticed then once I started, I couldn't stop. Once the thought came, it wasn't like, wait, I gotta go pay some bills first and do this, and then I'll go get the drugs. Like,
Oh
no,
yeah.
like I never did that.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Like
Right.
I just pushed everything to the side, and then okay, let's go see the dope man now. You know, so that's totally relatable, and I can, you know, like the first question I just asked you about, you know, what do you think the difference was, and that was the case for me too, and many people that I know. It's just I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. I still wanted to get high. I still wanted to get drunk. I still wanted to have sex with all these girls and don't take responsibility for anything I did wrong. And I just wanted to live that way. You know, I was very much like entitlement mentality that I had, you know. But that's great, man. I really enjoy listening to your stories. It's just awesome. You know, like I can only imagine, you know, the rock and roll days. I grew up, well, I was born in 83, so like 90s, I guess, you know, I guess you could say.
Wait, you were when were you born? What year?
1983.
Oh, you're a baby. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
my baby. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Born in '83.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like I remember the rock and roll days, man, when MTV would actually play music videos. You know, they don't. I don't even watch TV
Oh
anymore,
yeah.
but you know, and you know another thing, my grandpa, my dad's dad was what do you call it? The he did in Hawaii. He was the guy on the radio. What is it called exact? What's the exact title?
Disc jockey, radio
Yeah,
personality.
disc jockey. Yeah, that's what it is. And he set like a record at one time. My papa, he was an alcoholic, but he set a record for like longest time on the air. So it was like 48 hours or something like that in
Oh,
Hawaii.
really?
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh, that
something
must have
like
been
that.
miserable.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I mean, he would drink and chain smoke cigarettes, you know.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, he died of cancer. But I remember him. I
Aw.
was old enough, you know, but he was like, my dad would tell me stories of when he's a little kid. Him and his siblings gotta carry my papa out of the car, help my grandma, take him into the house because he's passed out drunk, you know. And he would take my dad to, you know, going somewhere to the park or something, and he'll go, I gotta make a stop, and my dad will wait in the car for hours when my papa's in the bar drinking, you know, just sitting there and stuff. So you know, my dad grew up with a lot of anger and stuff like that too because of my papa, and you know, he was an alcoholic. So I mean, I can relate to that too, man. Like, and I think God didn't give me kids because until I got sober, because oh my goodness, I would have just destroyed like the woman's life, the kid's life,
Yeah.
and then I probably would have taken my own life. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. That's why, because knowing me and how I used to think and behave, yeah, I would have probably ended my life for sure. So I'm just really grateful for that, and I'm grateful for you and you know telling your story, man. I was looking forward to this, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
um,
and I didn't get it. I didn't get that much in detail about my son, but it is sad. You know, my son was very affected by it. He's 16 now. He plays guitar. He's a freaking great guitar player. Um, but you know, he was definitely affected by the trauma of being raised by two addicts, and
mhm.
he doesn't touch a drug now. I mean, it doesn't matter because I remember I used to say, because my dad smoked cigarettes, I'm never going to smoke cigarettes. That's so gross, my dad. And of course, I smoke cigarettes. He's like, I'm never going to touch a drug because I saw what happened to you guys, and I only pray, you know. But he's you know he's addicted to the computer, but they all are, I guess. You know,
Right on.
but he was severely affected, but he's very he has a lot of depth. He's an old soul too, and he's familiar with the program. He grew up in AA, so
Oh, right on.
I
That's
think he'll
cool.
be all right. Yeah, yeah.
So as we wind this down, I want to ask you some questions. So the first question, Jennifer, I want to ask you is, when did you first realize you had an issue with addiction?
Oh, very very early. I knew. I remember a diary entry that I had in 1985. It said, I think I'm an alcoholic because everybody went home and I'm still up drinking and it's 4 in the morning.
Hmm.
and I was like probably 16. So
Yeah.
I always knew. I
Yeah.
knew right
Yeah.
away.
Man, my mind wouldn't like the thought of like I got a drinking problem, I got a drug problem was very short lived in my mind, like very much. Even like when I would come off a run, like a couple days or something, like even then, like my mind wouldn't revert to like, bro, you probably should take it easy, you should stop, or something along those lines. Like it never would, it never really would. Like toward the end, like probably about 19 years into it, then those thoughts would kind of slowly come, and by the end, like I knew, but like for a good like 18, 19 years, like I don't know, this disease of addiction just blocked that thought off in my mind. Kind of, it's the best way I can explain it. But it wasn't until it was really, really
Denial.
bad. Then okay, yeah, when on the verge of death and like going insane and being physically impaired because of the drugs and alcohol I pumped my body with. Oh man.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
always knew in my heart and soul, always knew. And it was just like, okay, it was almost like I accepted it. Like, okay, that I am, but I'm gonna get high.
Yeah, right. That makes sense to me, man. That makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
Mhm.
um okay, the next question is, do you feel your radio career contributed to you becoming an alcoholic addict?
That's a really good question, and I I know that for a fact that I would have been an alcoholic and addict, whatever industry, whatever I did. If I was a friggin' librarian, I still would have been, because let's remember back to when I was 16 and I was drinking alcoholically before I was in radio. You know,
uh,
um, did it make it easier to progress my disease? Maybe, but probably even not, because because my disease was so progressed so quickly.
yeah.
So I think that I think that they went hand in hand together, and it was a good fit for an
Hmm.
alcoholic. But I don't think that it was like that's why, or that has anything to do with the fact that I was an alcoholic or addict. No.
Right, yeah, like normies, like people who never struggle with drugs and alcohol. When I kind of talk with them, and everybody wants to know, like why, like what happened, like what was it, like a lot of people that I know, I mean, they've had like a lot of trauma, sexual abuse, and like no, that's not my story. I grew up in a really good home, had structure, I had love. I mean, I had presents under the Christmas tree every year, and all this stuff. But so I really like had to think about it as like when I first got sober, I really didn't know. Then my book said, the alcoholic, really it's the effect that is produced, basically. So I was like, okay, yeah, for sure, I like the effect that it produced for me. And then later on down the road, I started thinking, well, oh, okay, I found out why. I kind of found it, and it was because naturally, I'm introverted. People don't know that about me, but I grew up with a bunch of extroverts, all my older cousins, and I wanted to be like them. And they could surf, and there was always fighting and beating people up and getting all the chicks. And they did not need drugs and alcohol to be social, but I did. That was the reason behind it, because I was just uncomfortable, in my own skin. I wanted to be like them, but I can't even hold a conversation, kind of thing.
Ease
So
and comfort. It gave you the ease and comfort.
yeah, that ease and comfort. It's amazing how that does that, to the human body. Okay, so when did you put it down for good? This is the next question. When was that?
That was 2.5 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, and it was that almighty day that I was up for like 3 days saying, oh, okay, so I'm going to come down. And I took something else to come down. God knows what it was, and fell to the floor.
Uh,
And that was, probably the, scariest, worst day of my life, because I did it in front of my son. Not in front
oh.
of him. He knew it was New Year's. It was New Year's Day night,
Hmm.
and I had been up since probably maybe January 28th.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah. So anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you know, like cocaine users know this, but a lot of other people they don't realize that. I mean, it's a lot of work to stay up for days on like cocaine and alcohol. Like, man, you take a couple hits, you're up all, you know, there's no
Yeah, you
problem.
can't sleep. I can't sleep. I stay
Yeah.
up. I needed to sleep. I wanted to sleep, so I went on the street and got something to put me to sleep,
Hmm.
and it killed me because it was probably fentanyl.
Yeah. Oh, right, right. Man, that's an amazing experience that you had.
Yeah,
Um,
I
okay,
thank
so
God for that experience.
yeah, I know that. Wait, real quick. Do you remember anything when you died? Like, do you
I
remember
love that
anything?
question. No,
No,
unfortunately,
okay, shucks.
no. I'm
I
so
thought it was
bummed.
gonna
I
be some
wish.
cool thing.
Yeah, I wish I could sit here and be like, I saw the light. I went into the tunnel. And I saw my mother, and she took me to the light, and then I came back into my soul. But you know what? Nothing. Black.
No,
Just woke up
nothing.
in that ambulance, and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, why can't I breathe? And why am I caught? Like, why is my chest so congested? And like, I don't know if you know who John Bonham is, but I love John Bonham, man. He's like my favorite drummer. He's the drummer for Led Zeppelin, and he died. I love his drumming, but I never wanted it to like have you don't want to die the way he died because he died choking on his puke, and I almost died that way.
Wow.
Me and John Bonham both choking on our puke, man. That's a
Okay. Next question is, so how do you maintain your sobriety today?
I go to meetings.
Hmm.
I feel like a little bit of a bad girl when I do. Like, I feel like a bad girl. I wish I could be like, I go to meetings every single day, and I call myself like I'm in a meeting slump right now, and I gotta put a fire under my ass, okay?
Hmm.
Because I work in treatment, and when you work in treatment, you know this. You know this. You cannot replace working in treatment with your own program because you
No.
can't be like, oh well, I went to a meeting with with the treatment center, or I was talking to addicts all day. That's not a replacement for your own treatment or
Hmm.
for your own sobriety. But
Right.
I do. I mean, I still go to meetings. I go to meetings like 3 times a week. I still go to meetings. I read the big book. I meditate. I pray, and I stay with alcoholics. And I keep
Hmm.
it simple. I keep my life small. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't go on the tour buses anymore. You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely a spiritual connection because
Hmm.
God gave me another chance to live. Like
Yeah.
God did this for me. If I pick up a drink, how dare I?
Right.
Freaking God saved my life.
Hmm.
I'm here for something, and it might just be, because my son needs me.
Hmm.
It might not be the most miraculous thing. I used to think that I was saved to do something grand, but I think it's just that my son needs me.
Yeah.
And so I cannot. People say that they have that. Oh, you have a choice. I ain't got no choice
Hmm.
because I'll let God down.
Right.
So you need the meetings. I need the meetings
Hmm.
and the steps and the honesty. You have to be honest. If that's why I had to say like I'm sloughing my program because when you start lying and living a life of lies,
Hmm.
it's all over.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. I have to be honest. I have to live an honest life. I never lived an honest life before, and I'm living a squeaky clean, honest life in AA,
Hmm.
helping other people, helping others,
Yeah.
helping others is how I stay sober. Helping
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. You know that thing about working in treatment it is absolutely true because I mean, I facilitate groups. I will. There's times in the day where they'll be sitting around like all smoking, like in this area we get by the fire pit, and I'll just sit down and just chop it up with them. For like 1 hour. It's like we're having a meeting, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everything with pro recovery power that I do, content I'm creating, all these different things that I got going on with it. That is totally separate from my own personal program of recovery. So I like that you said that, because sometimes I can feel it. I feel it. Something is off. Something is off. Like, I don't know, you can't see it, it's above me. But something in my triangle is off. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, it's off. I'm unbalanced and I can always trace it back to that. always. So I'm like, oh dang, okay, I gotta hit more meetings. I gotta, I've completed my steps, but I haven't talked to my sponsor in a week. Let me call him. Let me reach out to so and so. I know they're struggling. Let me help them. I get guys I sponsor and all that kind of stuff too. So, but yeah.
And
Hey,
in the
Willie's here. What's up,
triangle,
Willie? Sorry, Willie's here.
hey Willie, woo, what's up, Willie? You're looking good. Those burpees, man, they're working.
Yeah.
The service, like my sponsor always tells me, he's like, she, not he. I'm so, my mind's always on the guy. She's always like, you can't count the service that you do in the treatment center. You can't count it. And I mean, I'm not sure where I'm at with that. I get what she's saying, but what she's saying is, I still have to help others outside of treatment, outside of my
Yes.
job. She's like, that's your job. That doesn't count. And I get it. I'm not saying that I still don't feel good and it doesn't, I still do get filled up and that, feeling in my heart when I help another addict in treatment, but it doesn't count.
Yeah. I think of it as like, this is just like practice. You know what I mean? Practicing being of service here, because, we get paid to do these things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cause I've been carrying the message for free for like 4 years already. You know what I mean? So like to help my mind understand it better, I guess you could say, when I struggle with that sometimes, like, but like I experienced it. So I know what it's like to kind of be off balance and then those old behavior just suddenly just swoop right in. And then, I'm lying about like little things to my wife. Like, did you go to the store? Yeah, but I didn't. You know what I mean? Like little things. That's how it always starts.
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
But I have one last question to ask you before we wrap this up.
Whack-a-mole. Addiction's like whack-a-mole for me. Whack-a-mole. I put down the food addiction, and then I'm picking up the shopping addiction, and there's a lot. Anyway, yeah. Last question. Ready?
Yeah. Okay. What would you say to encourage somebody right now that's struggling to get sober, like to the newcomer?
Man, listen to me. If I could do it, you could do it. Okay? There is no reason why you have to ever feel like this again. You can do it right now. I mean, you can't do it right now if you've got like a 50 rock. I'm going to be realistic. Smoke the 50 rock because I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. I just oh, I'm sorry. No, but seriously, because what I would tell you is that you can do it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. I sit in front of you here today with a beautiful, healthy son, a beautiful house, 2 dogs, healthy, in the best shape of my life, man. I will out burpee Willie any day, and I will take you up on that challenge. Okay? And just fun, happy. It's my life is so wonderful today, and you can have it. You can have it. You can. Anybody can be sober. Anybody. You just have to put down the drugs and the alcohol, and then everything else will come. Okay? AA, NA, singing bowls, praying, whatever it is. I mean, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not. Your soul will. But you can get sober. Stevie Nicks can get. If Stevie Nicks can get sober, that bitch did so much cocaine. You can get sober.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate for recovery, and because I honestly, like, people say these kind of things all the time, but I truly, I believed in God, active in addiction, but I truly believed I would never, ever get sober. Never. It just wasn't going to happen for me. I made a decision when I was like 24. I'm either going to die from it or I'm going to die with it. That's it. That I accepted it. That I can't, once I start, I cannot stop. So I'm not going to even try to stop, anymore. But, God proved me wrong. I made it into a 12-step program, and the people in my fellowship, they were examples for me to follow, and that always stuck with me. And I always try to live my life today like a newcomer is always watching me, even when I'm by myself. That really helps me. That really helps me. Like, because my character became really important to me. Like, the longer when I was in recovery, telling the truth is fun today. And having integrity, doing what I'm going to say, I'm going to do. And, even like these like fibs or white lies or exaggerating the truth or something, like, it's either like, it's black and white for me now. I'm either lying or I'm telling you the truth. Like,
and it's hard to tell the truth sometimes. Sometimes it's really hard to tell the truth.
Yeah. Yeah,
for
definitely.
me. And I mean, we're addicts. I'm such a liar. Sometimes I really have to think about it, and I'm like, am I being? And I got to figure out if I'm being true to myself. A lot of times, I
Mhm.
don't even know if I'm lying to myself.
Yeah,
You know.
right.
And the other thing, we don't have very many people out there, so I don't know, but I feel bad. I feel like I didn't help enough about the struggling. If you're struggling, I definitely recommend that you go on a Zoom meeting and say something immediately. If you're too high to even do that, if you can't do that, um, just put the shit down, detox yourself, and then go out and look for help and grab somebody like me
Mhm.
or anybody,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
that's
Reach
been
out.
there. Now we have social media. I mean, if you can't get to a physical meeting, the social media is a great way to help. It is.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I made so much friends during the pandemic because of the pandemic. I made a lot of new sober friends. Like, well, all my friends I have today sober, but I made like good, strong connections. It's amazing that like our common problem brought us together, but then the solution will keep us together. And it's
Yeah.
amazing. Like I'm starting to meet these people in real life now. Like I'm going to Wyoming next week to go
Wow.
hang out with one of my other friends, and I'm gonna see Willie and Cameron. I'll see them too
Oh
on that
gosh,
trip.
yeah.
Yeah.
We all have to get. There's a big convention in Jacksonville in
Oh yeah.
August. Yeah, a big AA convention.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. State convention in Jacksonville, Florida.
Mm.
That would be fun. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't even tell you. Sometimes I get annoyed. Sometimes I'm pissed off, and I'm a total bitch. And I also struggle, with depression. I think a lot of alcoholics, most, do. A lot of it
Mhm.
is, we're medicating ourselves, we're self-medicating. I remember my mother took me to a psychiatrist when I was like 15 or 16 when I started, drinking heavy.
Mhm.
And the psychiatrist, I mean, it wasn't rocket science. The psychiatrist is like, hello, she's self-medicating,
Mhm.
you know.
Right.
Um, and I struggle with severe ADD attention deficit disorder, and I was diagnosed with that in 1987 before anybody knew it was. Like she's
Right.
ADD. She's AD what? She's got some AD something, and they put me on Ritalin, a cocaine addict. That was fun.
Oh wow. Wow.
So, um, you know, anybody can get sober under any circumstances, and the trick is staying sober,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
getting sober. The trick is staying sober.
Yeah. Staying sober. It was a lot easier for me to get sober, but to stay sober was a whole different story. You know. But I thank you again so much for taking
Thank
the time out,
you. I could do
telling
this
us your
all
story.
night. We can talk all night. I'm mad.
Yeah.
I listen. I'm so mad. I want more than 5. Okay, we have to do something. We got to get more people watching us because we're both so good, and so's Willie. You know what I mean? Like I don't like the way I look with these glasses. I look kind of stupid, but like we need to have a freaking talk show on Sirius XM radio or something like that. We need to get big. We need to blow this up, help people. We deserve more than 5 friggin' what are they called? Viewers? Fuck that. 5 viewers? Ugh,
It's
please.
all good. And,
I
and
I
then
know, I know. Listen, I probably have 2, my boyfriend and my girlfriend, whatever. But yeah, but what I'm saying is we have such a great message, and I just
yeah, well, another thing too is like after this is over, I'm gonna post it and I'm gonna post it to my YouTube channel, and then
good.
I'll send you that link too, so people you can send it off to different people and stuff. So
Okay.
you never know, man. Somebody might come across it one day and be like, "Who is this lady? Let me listen to her story."
No,
You know?
yeah, and it has nothing to. I already was a star. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
already
yeah.
been there, done that. That was fun. It was great. It was awesome.
Uh-huh.
Yay, yay me. I'm fine. Got enough money in the bank. That's okay. Whatever. What do you need? I need people with big mouths to spread the message. Do
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? Because there's so many people dying out there, and especially in Florida, um, with the
Right.
fentanyl, and every single day. I can't even tell you how many people I lost. It's friggin' sad. So we need big mouths. So I'm glad you're reposting. Okay, let's keep our mouths open
Yeah.
and friggin' kick this disease ass. It made my,
Yeah.
my mother drop dead due to it. Codependency is big too.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you
I
again
love you.
so much. Hey, I'll call you after this to set up a time where I can do your podcast too.
Yes, yes, we're doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, Jennifer, thank you again. Take
All
care.
right.
Keep
Happy
in touch.
Saturday, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Uh-oh. Not
I don't
working.
know how to leave the room. See, you can't get rid of me. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Here we go.
Okay, there we go. All right, guys, that's Jennifer's story. If you guys got a story to tell, reach out to me. We can make it happen. Thank you guys so much. We will be back next week, Saturday. I am going to go live again 2 times, on at 12 o'clock and at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So thank you guys so much for watching. Aloha.